The storm raged outside, winds howling like a warning. Roads were flooded, businesses had shut down, and every motel in town had no vacancy signs glowing in the darkness. David was exhausted, drenched from the unexpected storm that had turned his business trip into a nightmare. Flights were canceled, roads were impassable, and the only thing he needed was a place to stay for the night. But when he arrived at the luxurious Silver Crest Hotel, he was met with something even colder than the storm discrimination. David was a successful entrepreneur, used to staying in five-star hotels. But tonight, in his rain-soaked clothes, with no fancy suit or briefcase, the receptionist at the front desk didn't see a businessman. She saw someone she decided didn't belong. When David requested a room, the receptionist barely glanced at her computer before shaking her head. "Sorry, sir, we're completely full." But something felt off. The massive lobby was nearly empty, and the parking lot had plenty of open spots. David, already suspicious, calmly mentioned that he had checked online, and the website showed multiple rooms available. The receptionist's expression hardened. "Well," she scoffed, "maybe there was a mistake. This is a luxury hotel. Our rates aren't exactly budget-friendly." When David insisted he'd like to book a room, she sighed and leaned forward. "If you really want to stay here, I'll need 2 forms of ID, a credit check, and a deposit up front." Hotel policy. Strangely, the couple who had checked in moments earlier had only shown a single credit card. David knew exactly what was happening, but instead of getting angry, he simply smiled and pulled out his phone. "All right," he said calmly. "Let's see if your system is as broken as your attitude." David knew exactly what was happening, but instead of causing a scene, he decided to turn the tables. He calmly stepped aside, pulled out his phone, and booked a room through the hotel's website in less than 2 minutes. When the confirmation email popped up, he walked back to the desk and held up his phone. "That's strange," he said, his voice calm but sharp. "Looks like you do have rooms available." The receptionist's face turned pale as she fumbled for an excuse. Instead of waiting for more excuses, David took out his business card, dialed a number, and spoke directly to an executive from the hotel's corporate office. "I'm standing in your hotel lobby being denied service," he said. "Should I take my investments elsewhere?" The receptionist's confidence instantly shattered when she realized she had just insulted someone far more powerful than she had assumed. As guests and staff started paying attention to the confrontation, David turned to the people around him. "I wonder," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "if they would have made a different decision if I looked like someone else." The murmurs from the crowd grew, and other customers started checking their own booking sum, even questioning if they had unknowingly witnessed similar behavior before. At this point, the receptionist was completely flustered, and the hotel manager rushed over. But by then, the damage had already been done. The moment the manager laid eyes on David, recognition dawned. "Mr. Carter?" he asked, his tone instantly respectful. The receptionist froze. You know him?" she stammered. The manager's eyes widened. "Not just know him, Mr. Carter is a major investor in our hotel chain." The color drained from the receptionist's face. She had just humiliated a man who had the power to decide her future. David let the silence stretch before speaking. "So tell me," he said, looking straight at the receptionist, "what was your real reason for denying me a room?" She opened her mouth, but no words came out. The manager cleared his throat. "I think we need to have a private discussion in my office," he said, glaring at the receptionist. Immediately, David turned to leave but paused. "Actually," he said, "let's make one thing clear in public so this never happens again." He faced the manager. "I expect a full review of your hiring and training policies. Because if this is how your staff treats customers when they think no one is watching, imagine how many others have faced the same thing." The entire lobby had gone quiet. Guests and employees alike watched as the manager nodded quickly. "Absolutely, Mr. Carter. We'll take immediate action." By the next morning, the receptionist had been fired. The hotel released a public statement apologizing for the incident, and David used the experience to push for real changes, ensuring that every guest, regardless of background, received equal treatment. David's story spread beyond the hotel. It ignited conversations about the discrimination still present in the hospitality industry. Many people shared similar experiences, pushing for greater accountability in how businesses handle customer service. Meanwhile, the hotel chain implemented mandatory training on racial bias, ensuring that no guest would ever face the same treatment again. This story proves that power isn't always about wealth, it's about standing up for yourself and demanding the respect you deserve. David didn't just fight for himself, he fought for every person who had ever been told, "You don't belong here." It's a lesson in composure, intelligence, and using your influence to create real change. Subscribe for more eye-opening stories that expose injustice and celebrate those who fight for what's right.